Sumire is apparently a terrible friend now because she didn't spend the time skip screaming Boruto's innocence from the rooftops right alongside Sarada, and somehow that means she betrayed both of them. At least that's how it seems to be going with a growing number of people in the community following that new information Ikimoto just gave us a few days ago. When you actually look at what Sumire did, her personality and how catastrophically bad Sarada's situation was becoming, Sumire staying quiet may have been the smartest move that either girl made during those 3 years. And yes, I know some of this conversation is being fueled by shipping because apparently Boruto disappearing for 3 years was not enough drama. So now we need apparently the fourth great shipping war to take place, with Team Sarada versus Team Sumire, while Team Chocho waits in the shadows, ready to take down the winner and claim Boruto's heart with a custom-made Thunder Burger soaked in special-made Akimichi clan sauce. But if you're going to argue Sumire doesn't deserve Boruto because she wasn't loyal enough, I think you might want to pick another battlefield where the actual story isn't standing behind you with a steel chair. Join me in today's newest Naruto Explain video where your OBC, your original Boruto chief, takes a moment to look closer at this Sumire situation and hopefully dead a lot of the complaints and slander being aimed at the character, which share this next time you see someone using this new information to bash Sumire. While I am on record saying I like manga Sumire and I hate anime Sumire, and while I do poke fun at her character as well as every Boruto character, Sumire fans are full of shit when they say I only make fun of her. I want to make sure this video comes across as being objective when it comes to taking a look at the character and motivation. So let's just put the cards on the table right now before we go any further. I don't really care about the shipping debate. I only talk about it because that's what a lot of fans care about. If Boruto ends up with Sarada, cool. If Boruto ends up with Sumire, cool. If Boruto ends up with a Black Clover style ending when it comes to pairings, I will drink some non-alcoholic beer. I will laugh my butt off while reading the comments on Viz Media's app and Shonen Jump's app because I am here for the lore expansion and the character arcs before anything else. Everything else, including the battles and romance, all that is secondary to me. What I care about is whether the argument being made about these characters actually matches what the story has shown us. And after the new information Ikimoto has given Boruto fans during this August break, I don't think calling Sumire disloyal makes much sense at all. If anything, I think it shows that Sarada and Sumire responded to the exact same impossible situation completely in character, which means they did it in different ways because they are two different people. To put it bluntly, both characters responded in a way that is in character for both of them. And if you love Sarada, then this new information probably made you love her more. If you love Sumire, this new information probably made you love her more as well. When you put the shipping bias aside and you look at the information objectively, both girls saw their characters elevated by the new material that we got. That is why I love it so much. That's why I'm so heartbroken to having seen so many fans pit these two girls against each other. Momoshiki said that those immune to the effects of omnipotence would suffer the most. And I do feel as if what Ikimoto revealed to us showed that, and it did it in a way that reflected both girls. Sarada in character is emotional, even more so than a normal Uchiha, because both of her parents, they had tempers. Even if Sasuke took a moment to get to that point, both of her parents had a very low tolerance of bullshit, something that I completely understand. They're my spirit animals for that reason. Yet, Sarada had to live with the anger and frustration of being right, knowing she was right, seeing people almost comprehend what it was she was saying, and then they became the person in the meme who gets shown a bunch of evidence, confirms that the evidence is real, and then still says that they're gonna go with the wrong answer anyway. Sarada had to live with threats, see her Hokage dream go up in flames, see her mother get verbally attacked for standing beside her, and live with the trauma of being branded a traitor and a supporter of the person who killed her idol Naruto. Sumire, on the other hand, she too still suffered, and that gets overlooked. It's not the same level of suffering that Sarada had, and I don't want a trauma scale, but that is something that is different. But there are different types of suffering. While she didn't get death threats, looking at her character, the suffering is still there. Imagine seeing your friend being vilified for something that she was right about. Imagine seeing the boy you have a crush on being accused of something you know he couldn't have done. Imagine watching all of that from the shadows and understanding that you have to stay in the background because tensions were rising to a point where the possibility of ramifications would still be there. Sumire was forward thinking. Naruto was the son of a beloved Hokage, and he himself was a very beloved Hokage. He was something bigger than a Hokage. Killing Naruto would be akin to someone being accused of having killed the Pope in real life. The outrage will be global. Really and truly in the Naruto world, Naruto will be even bigger than the Pope, but the point still stands. Tensions were incredibly hot by this point in time. The decision to not draw attention to oneself is actually smart. Sarada's actions shouldn't be viewed as the benchmark because of the old Japanese expression, the nail that sticks out gets hammered in. Sumire adding her voice in open resistance to Kawaki's lies accomplishes nothing. If for no other reason, then when people get emotional, logic goes out the window. As my mentor used to say, just because you have the shot doesn't mean that you should be the one who pulls the trigger. It's a way of saying when you deliver the message and who delivers the message is arguably more important than the message being delivered. Ada's breakdown about the weakness of omnipotence in chapter 1 of Two Blue Vortex backs that entire premise up as well. It doesn't matter how many times you tell someone their memory has been altered. It doesn't matter if they see the glaring contradictions. Omnipotence will continually rewrite their memory until they just accept what it was that omnipotence told them happened, or until they have enough new experiences that they can hold on to in order to actively push back against omnipotence. Given how intelligent Sumire is, we can assume she might have come to this conclusion as a possible theory, watching how people push back against Sarada, handing out photos of baby Boruto being held by Naruto, and they still refuse to see the truth. Sumire understood being the one in the public eye during this time might not have been the right call. That's not cowardice or disloyalty. It's proof that she cares about Boruto as much as Sarada does, but she had to show it in a different way. Ask yourself, what does her standing beside Sarada repeating the same lines that Sarada is saying actually accomplish? It accomplishes nothing in that moment, and it only makes both of them look like black sheep, and it puts a target on their backs. They got lucky Shikamaru was Hokage, and Shikamaru was just humoring Sarada, letting her talk without ramifications. She could have easily been branded a traitor and thrown into a cell, especially with the public disdain for Sarada being so high that both Sarada and her mother were being threatened. It would be very simple to throw on chakra suppressing cuffs on both of them and lock them away to prevent any villagers from ending up in the ER if they said the wrong thing, and try to appease the villagers who wanted someone to pay for Naruto's death. Tensions were high. In that scenario, Sumire cannot help Boruto get his innocence proved if they're both locked away. This will be one of the few times that I will reference Boruto's anime when discussing the manga, because both are confirmed to be two different continuities. However, since I know a large portion of you started with Boruto's anime, then you jumped in the manga after the anime ended, I'll say this should not shock you. Anime Sumire was trained from childhood to deceive people and not draw attention to herself, to gather intel and wait patiently for the moment to make her move. Staying hidden in plain sight is not something that is weird and a new weird character trait that the time skip suddenly gave to her. That is basically on the entrance exam test known as Sumire's life. It is in very much character for her. Now, even if we just go by the manga continuity, she is still someone who rarely goes off of emotion alone. Instead, she watches things play out before she acts. She constantly watched Amado, constantly gathered information, and she tries to do so without people noticing her. That is the opposite of Sarada. If Sarada and Sumire are both standing in front of the same door and both of them are pissed off, if Sarada's pissed off, she's just going to kick down the door. Sumire, on the other hand, is more likely to ask what or who is behind the door before we open it. Just because she takes a different approach does not mean that she is not every bit as angry as Sarada is. In a way, it is poetic because they are both immune to omnipotence. One was the person that was drawing all the attention while the other collected the data and got a better picture to paint about what was occurring. They complemented each other. That approach works when you consider Konoha's perspective on all of this. Just use a linear ABC logic for a moment to see why. Boruto is believed to have murdered Naruto. Then Sasuke helped Boruto escape execution. Sarada is Sasuke's daughter. She is openly defending both of them. People are pissed off. Village leadership would have been well within their right to detain her. At that point, Sarada would need someone to support her. Sumire cannot do that or speak on her behalf if she's in a jail cell right next to her. The same if she was going to play the long game to try to find a way to prove Boruto's innocence. One of them needed to be able to move without suspicion. That person was Sumire, because by default, every move that Sarada made would have been scrutinized because she is the daughter of a traitor. That is the scientist's brain at work. Omnipotence just happened, and there were a lot of variables that were unknown. Dramatic irony. We knew all the information, they didn't. You can't fix a problem if you aren't allowed to collect data and formulate a hypothesis and test it. That is why calling this disloyal feels like a backwards claim to me that is basically meant for agenda purposes. Sometimes loyalty is not standing beside someone when they're running directly into gunfire. Sometimes loyalty is realizing somebody needs to survive long enough to pull them back out. And there is another enormous reason that Sumire could not afford to burn her position inside of Konoha. That reason was Amado, or as the ancient shinobi texts like to call them, the original Susibaka. Sumire has been positioned around one of the most dangerous and knowledgeable people in the entire story. Amado knows things about karma that nobody else knows. He knows things about Kawaki's modifications that they are still catching up to. He knows information surrounding the Otsutsuki. He has his own motivations. He has repeatedly withheld information. You never know how much info Amado has until he tells you, and Sumire has been one of the characters that has been tasked with watching him. She needed to stay close to him for that reason, but on the off chance he ended up providing some information indirectly that they could use to figure out omnipotence, and eventually he did just that when Boruto returned back to Konoha and Sumire got Amado to talking. That conversation does not happen if Sumire is in jail right next to Sarada. I get it, shipping debates, they go burr, they get intense. I will probably troll both ships at one point when something else happens in the manga, but this isn't what you should be using to tear down a character whose actions actually deserve praise, in my opinion. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, clicking on the left to check out this Naruto Explained video, or clicking on the right to check out this video that YouTube says you would definitely enjoy watching.